Good morning. Mic test, microphone test. Good morning, colleagues of the Naa'bik'iyati Committee of the 25th Navajo Nation Council. We are here today within the council chambers. If you're logging in through Zoom, welcome as well, and also our guests who are listening online. Today is March 23rd, 2023, and we'll be doing the roll call for the Naa'bik'iyati Committee meeting. Colleagues, if you are in here within the chambers, you can press your request to speak button to log in your presence. If you are online joining us, colleagues, you can mark your presence or your vote with Jalissa or Chief of Staff Manuel. You'll be both here within the chambers today. Thank you, staff. We do have 17 colleagues present within the Naa'bik'iyati committee meeting on March 23rd, 2023. With that, colleagues, we're calling the Naa'bik'iyati committee meeting to order at 10:12 a.m. Ado hiha nana ade nihali haso yahagi do kodo besh padas anedani kliniki. Good morning. Good to see each and every one of you here this morning. Ado kunna invocation kodo shiche Honorable George Toth nakhatso dizim bahaditze. Honorable Toth.
Thank you, Chair. Members of Navajo Nation Naa'bik'iyati Committee, Toyat Epen, I would request after my invocation moment of silence for a former Navajo Nation President, Mr. Ben Shelley. Iba da hati moment of silence that he linked Ninchkedo speaker. Here now, the top begin. Semana staan niet tegen. Ado shantin lenigi. Ik naad slaat. Jonoko kon een alchen niet long. Kon nane tahja nane zako en hat so one begin. Kon sa nane tleshit gaat tegen. Alchen niet len so ken niet len. Hade shinti da no na sabo kai hosa. Ischin de ko jono hat ne do nat do ko chas ke ston hikenel do ne ko. Bige je hat li la ko sa ta kon gal dat ile. Ashon den de snow and de sne bananoshka. De ga holia do le hikenaten I do le. Yonan hin nido jeta nati chikon. Nilchen hisen saje eba henitzen. Sa na re beke hojon baka hina yol kato lichnitzen. Don na wait ado li. Nike na es la sto halchen holo nani nike. Schreje lini kon. Jopa nitzen anlen halchen chikon. It's all catching hinal catching. Ni het salaat soortje kon het gaat niet kon. La hij kon de jospa adon dat la hij dan den daar pahen de kon. Adon in dat kon gaat chindo. Dan is ik de kato la dat gaat is also kon. Adon gaan daar dus dan lenny kon Navajo Nation Government Employees also. Chapter official Ado staff dan ling do kon. The net dos twido sani KGK bacho hapa ni tsin kon ya na ne tsa kon hat an leniki ado hia na shit kha digin kon kon na sab kai kon hansen klein le kon jono shin kon el yada kon hanani sado le ki te peta holla ki ni da holla ki big gashi na tloshin ki da holla shit kha leni kon bacho pa nitzen ahot an hasaba kan hit el get the quiz kanda shin kon ti atahosla ba konitsen kya lan nitzen kon hina yoskat adon has twi sani dan lon halchen dan lonat ani adenel so do hasne ti kis le kon shika leni kon hone citizen be hat zile hone kon sedolsen la hone konsen hadon ala ojon shal chins so ke catholic bios catholic education lenigi ido gaston do dato kon he can do what they know that don't know ni kon nas kadon kon he kon that klidon he na ashabik kon sedolsen kon ashne be benen lita huche ut ya head hidini do lis kon hojoro listen so this hojon kon nani dado lis kon ado kon tlahoshi ya dene para hajo pa kon sto to pa denzen kon yat shilkhaz ado lis kon shigan chabatan dot asto Khoda e ko e shil hai a il dol kinsto dansen sa an da bitchen da hoi nasukha e pa it endle ben ka de ko e ya hai ko be ka da isko do li ko but ayan ja de sikona ani ni tleni ki kone ya na ni tsai ko a hui chi kon hina sinda ti a hui chi kon hi de ne pa ni tan le ko pa cho pa ni tsin ya ta ko vi os khala bes na ha jon ro li ni zo ko na ani tan hi di ya ha de shin na hat ani e be ke ta ha di ni de dis chi de ko e hi de ka ni ko na ji tan ni ko a Washington a just Washington ha sin so in chen ha na de ko en ni ka han te do le hi ni so de zen ni ge kon hi na so len ni ko shi ka di ko ke land de snow de ni ko di le ni ko ta ti o ni ke cha de steton a is kan li do li ko ojo na hasli moment of silence for a few minutes please.
Colleagues, may we all stand to honor our past councilman and also former President Bencelli of Peru, New Mexico. And we do send out our condolences, and we did send out a joint press release with the Office of the President and Vice President, and we will be connecting with you on any additional details regarding the service. So at this time, please stand with me to do a moment of silence. Thank you, colleagues. We're going down to number 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. Honorable Daniels, via Zoom, you have the floor. Recognizing guests and visiting officials.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. Tweet Honorable Paul. I just want to, this morning, I want to recognize an organization. They're called Utah Naa'bik'iyati. The Executive Director, Mr. Woody Lee, former delegate, former LDA, recognize basically all the board members, Utah Naa'bik'iyati board members, I recognize the education for this morning. I really appreciate what they're doing on the youth side and also for the Navajo Nation as well. Next month on the 3rd and the 4th, they're inviting the Navajo Nation Council to tour one of the farms in the state of Oregon. I really appreciate Honorable Tom Chi. Any other I don't recognize the board chapters that I represent. and also my LDA. Thank you for those. The phone can was say thank you. So that I just can't remember. All the LDA thing for that too. But yeah, just want to say thank you for those. Madam Chair.
Ahiahat Shiaj, Honorable Daniels. Colleagues, are there any other recognizing guests and officials? If there is none, we did get a request from the Office of the Speaker from one of our colleagues from the council to have some of our staff introduce themselves. We do have some of our staff here this morning, and I'll just give them a brief time to introduce themselves. Honorable Crotty, we'll give you the floor first via Zoom. You have the floor.
Yeah. Thank you, David. I appreciate the time and the prayer from GI's Delegate Toll. I want to recognize Lieutenant Williams and her team at the Navajo Nation Department of Public Safety and their public SORNA division. There are current officers who are protecting the Navajo community by requiring registered sex offenders who are living on the Navajo Nation to not only register but keep the website active and open to the public. And so I saw Lieutenant Williams and her team were helping with the events with our late President Chairman Peterson Zaw. And I just want to make sure her team knows that the council fully supports their initiative and look forward to the amendment where we can strengthen our SORNA and be able to provide notification to communities, education institutions, and other areas where there's a vulnerable population when a registered sex offender is either living in the community or working in their employment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Crotty. Are there any other recognizing officials and guests, colleagues? Honorable Tlaw, via Zoom, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, and then also to honorable colleagues, Mr. Toth, and then also to all those that are about to introduce themselves, welcome to the legislative branch, and I will be attending in person shortly. I will be making my way there, but I want to take some time to recognize our grazing officials, our farm board, and our land board all across the Navajo Nation. These past 2 weeks, I have been able to listen to some of the discussion that our grazing officials for the land use and then also the resources of the water. So I was able to attend with Western Agency and Central Agency, and all across the board there is that concern for livestock being good stewards of the land. So I do appreciate those discussions, and then also the representatives for each community, those that look over the farm board and the land board, as well as the grazing. I also wanted to recognize the Office of the President and Vice President for sponsoring a breakfast this morning. I did miss it, but I hope everyone was able to fill their hearts and their stomach at the same time, and sharing good laughter with, the good communication we have, as well as the partnership that is in place. So I want to thank our Madam Speaker for leading that for our 25th Navajo Nation Council and being a part of the discussion. And then I also want to take some time to just thank my colleagues for allowing me to be a part of their standing committee meetings. And then, as Honorable Daniels mentioned, our LDAs for all of the work that they are doing. And then just on a personal note, I just want to thank my family. My sister, today is her birthday, so I just wanted to wish her a happy birthday. So please excuse me for taking some time to honor my sister. Being a part of the council, I didn't have a very big campaign committee. It was just my family, my parents, and my siblings. So it's a very important day for me just to say happy birthday to my younger sister. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, Honorable Pla. I don't see anybody else in queue for recognizing guests and officials. I'll give a few minutes over to our Chief of Staff to do quick introductions of the staff.
Thank you, Speaker and members of the 25th Navajo Nation Council Naa'bik'iyati Committee. My name is Manuel Rico. I'm originally from Beshbito. That's about 5 miles west of Steamboat. And I am the newly appointed Chief of Staff here with the Office of the Speaker. Official day was Monday. And I want to thank everybody that's here on the call and in person. We have a sold-out crowd today. So, but there was a memo sent out on Monday that had all the kind of like the job description of what each staff assistant would be working on. So they'll just give a brief introduction so that we don't, we can move forward with the agenda. First, I'll give it to Ms. Clarissa Begay.
Good morning. My name is Clarissa Begay. Ado e ya jedito doho liedo e ado nasha. Ado e ya nanesh ejetachi nin shlon ki ani e bashichin. Todich ini e dashiche do trapai dashanalako. What are e sanin shlin? And thank you for this time to introduce myself.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's Aya Bina. She'e Mary Nazinishia, Hashlashing Nishlin, Ashi Habashishin, my Dash Gizni A Dashiche Ado Toy Haglini A Dashanale. Akot Al A Asando Amanishlin. I am originally from Winter Rock, Arizona, so this is my area. And I am the executive assistant to Speaker Curley. So
Yate Ben she Chris Burnside in she anin shlo to the chini bashin a she dash naldo but ane dash she is also the bayaj of a tindo arenasha the tasatai shanata. Good morning. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Davina, and Sheya Kia Anin Slodo Totally Bashichin, Hanalahe Dashinalo Todachini Dashiche. Ado Shay, I work in the Office of the Speaker, and I work in the Finance section. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rachel Lucaspino. My clans are Anastasia Tachitni, Kozasane, Hoganathi. And I am an Office A temporary, so if you need help, you can ask for me. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jared Tutchin. Kia Ani Nishle, Izatlane Bushichin, Torajitni Dashiche, Beat Petotni Dashinella, and I serve as the Deputy Chief of Staff with the Office of the Speaker. Thank you.
And that's the, we do have Ms. Stacy Allison, who is not here today, but she's also a legislative staff assistant who is working a lot for the Speaker's office in regards to policy. So I've been working with her to create internal policies. So that's one of the big things that I want to accomplish with the Speaker's office. And through the Speaker's initiatives, we will assist the council delegates as much as we can. Thank you, Speaker.
Yeah, thank you, staff. Thank you, colleagues, for allowing this little bit of a short time for our staff to introduce themselves of the Office of the Speaker. Now we have for recognizing guests and officials, Honorable Simpson. Yeah, I don't see anybody else in queue for recognizing guests and officials. Colleagues will go back down to number 3, review and adopt the agenda. Staff, can you help us read the agenda into the record?
Good morning, Madam Speaker, participating audience, and delegates. This is the agenda for the Naa'bik'iyati Committee of the 25th Navajo Nation Council. This is a regular meeting held via teleconference and in person. Today's date is Thursday, March 23rd, 2023, 10 o'clock a.m. Presiding Chair, Honorable Crystalline Curley, Speaker, 25th Navajo Nation Council. 1. Call meeting to order, roll call, invocation. 2. Recognize guests and visiting officials. 3. Review and adopt the agenda. 4. Review and adopt the journals. There is one dated March 9, 2023. 5. Receiving reports. Report A, update report by the Office of the President and Vice President on the streamlining and implementation of the Navajo Nation's American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds. Update report provided by staff of the Office of the President and Vice President. Report B, report by the U.S. Department of Energy on the Memorandum of Understanding pertaining to energy transition. Update report provided by Wahala Johns and Mr. Tommy Jones. 6, old business, there is none. 7, new business. A, legislation 0029-23. B, legislation 0030-23. C, legislation 0036-23. D, legislation 0037-23. E, legislation 0032-23. F, legislation 0031-23. G, legislation 0039-23. H, legislation 0040-23. I, legislation 0026-23. 8, close a meeting, announcements, and adjournment. Madam Speaker.
Yeah, staff, can I get a motion? Motion by Chair Jesus, second by Helena Nesbegay, Delegate Helena Nesbegay. Comments, questions, colleagues? And there is also a request to put receiving reports from the U.S. Department of Energy to reports A. So there is that request. I believe they are online with us this morning. Honorable Johnson.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion. A motion to receive that report B and place to go ahead of A and then bring item A down to item B. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Johnson. There is a motion to put receiving reports B to A and then A to B. Is there a second? Second by Honorable Simpson. Colleagues, any other additional questions concerning the motion on the floor right now? Going once. Honorable Crotty?
Oh, yeah, Asia. Chair Curley, thank you. I appreciate the amendment. I'd like to ask for a modification from the motioning party. If we could add legislation 0041-23 onto new business, and it could be the last legislation, or if there's any recommendations from the motioning party. But that would be my modification request. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Crotty. There is a request to modify to add legislation 0041-23. Staff, could you help read us that title into the record?
Legislation number 0041-23. Sponsor is Amber Knazba Crotty. Co-sponsor Carl Slater. Crystalline Curley. My apologies, ma'am. Title of the legislation: an action relating to the Resource and Development and Naa'bik'iyati committees, affirming the Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation among the Navajo Nation, U.S. Department of Energy, and other federal agencies, appointing 25th Navajo Nation Council members to the Navajo Nation and federal agencies collaborative team for economic revitalization and energy transition. Madam Speaker.
Yeah, there's that request for modification to add legislation 0041-23 to the agenda. Motioning party, Honorable Johnson, do you concur? We'll turn the floor back over to you. Honorable Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I concur that modification. Thank you.
Second party, Honorable Simpson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members of the Naa'bik'iyati Committee. I have a question for Delegate Crowdy here. This report from the U.S. Department of Energy and the legislation that she requests to be added to the agenda, those things are similar. And we'll be talking about these two issues today. Why don't we just take that report off in reference to the U.S. Department of Energy and get to the legislation, and we can both get the information at the same time when we consider that legislation that was just added. That would be my recommendation as a second motion party, Madam Chair.
Honorable Crotty, there is a request to modify your motion to see adding legislation 0041-23 and deleting report B for the report from the U.S. Department of Energy. Honorable Crotty?
Chair Curley, thank you. I appreciate that recommendation. I would need some help from staff. What the modification would be is to delete report B, but add legislation 0041-23 to the first item of the agenda. Is that, I believe that's how we would make the motion. If I could get staff to concur, or if you have any recommendations, Chair Curley, thank you.
Honorable Crotty, just for clarification, Your modification would include deleting report B and then having legislation 0041-23 as new business A. Honorable Crowdy?
Adding as business A, as new business A, we would still go to report. So I need to modify my motion to I'm trying to recognize that the agents are on the line, and so if we hear the report A, that would take up time. So what is the recommendation to address report A and be respectful of the office of President Vice President? Thank you.
Honorable Crowdy, you would have to, if you're going to take that route, you would have to modify your request to the motioning party to put legislation 0041-23 as new business A and be deleting report B from the U.S. Department of Energy. Or you can keep the reports there from the U.S. Department of Energy as report A, and then adding the legislation as new business A 00-41-23. So those are two options, Honorable Crowdy.
Chair Curley, I think in terms of keep clarity and respecting the report from the Office of President Vice President, that would be my request, is we hear the report B first, so replacing A, and then adding legislation 0041-23 as new business letter A. Thank you for the guidance.
Yeah, Honorable Crowdy, there will be new business A would be 00-41-23. Seconding party, Honorable System, do you concur?
So for clarification, we'll be deleting item B, right? But the legislation will be added as first business under new business. Is that correct?
Honorable Crowdy did request to leave the reports on as report A for U.S. Department of Energy, and then receiving reports B from Office of the President, Vice President, and new business A would be 0041-23.
Madam Chair, we're trying to work with Delegate Crowdy, and she said if this was we did put this at the last item under new business, under her new legislation. What we're trying to do is do away with item B, but the new item that got added to that's going to be added to the agenda, her legislation will be the first order of business under new business. That's what we're trying to get to right now. So if once we accept this agenda, if item B is deleted and put in that new legislation as item A or new business, once it's accepted, then we can do suspension of flow rules, go straight to item A. Madam Chair, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Crowdy. Just for clarification, the reports would be for, or go ahead, Honorable Crowdy.
If I could get clarification on Delegate Simpson's modification, what would the language look like for this modification? Thank you.
Honorable Crotty, there was a recommendation to delete receiving reports B from U.S. Department of Energy and then still having new business A as the new added legislation. That would be the amendment. Honorable Crotty? All right, she does concur with that modification. Seconding party, Honorable Simpson, are you okay with that? Okay, seconding party is okay with that, so there is a motion on the floor to delete receiving reports B and adding legislation 0041-23 on new business A. Are there any other additional comments or concerns? Honorable Norman Begay.
Thank you, Speaker and 25th Council and the audience, so staff. So I'd like to go ahead and, if I may, legislation 0040-23, delete that off the agenda until we have a meeting with the president.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. There's a request on the floor to delete legislation 0040-23. Motioning party, Honorable Johnson, do you concur? Motioning party concurs, seconding party concurs. So there's amendment to delete reports B and to add legislation 0041-23 on new business A and to delete item new business H, legislation 0040-23. Are there any additional comments or questions? Second call. Going for a vote on the amendment to the agenda. Going to the drawing board. If you're here in the chambers, feel free to use your request to speak button. If you are online via Zoom, please feel free to text in your vote to Jalissa or Chief of Staff. Thank you, staff. We do have 19 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting for the amendment. Back to adopting the agenda on the main motion. Are there any additional comments or questions? Second call. Staff, can we go for a second reading of the agenda? Honorable Daniels via Zoom. We are on adopting the agenda. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much for those, Madam Chair, honorable members of Naa'bik'iyati Committee. Thank you. All the guests in the gallery. Yeah, thank you. I'd like to propose or making a motion to make a consent agenda. Legislation Chahid 0036, 0037, 0039. Madam Chair.
Yeah, Honorable Daniels, there is a motion for consent agenda for legislation 0036-23, 0037-23, 0039-23. Second by Honorable Tolth. Are there any objections, colleagues? Second call. I don't see no objections. Colleagues calling for a vote for a consent agenda for 0037-23, 0036-23, 0039-23. Go to the drawing board. If you're tuning in via Zoom, feel free to text the Chief of Staff or Jalissa here in the chambers. Thank you, staff. We do have 18 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting for the consent agenda. Back to the main motion of reviewing and adopting our agenda today. Any more questions, concerns? Second call. Going straight to a vote to adopt our agenda. Oh, we'll go first, sorry. We'll go to second reading by our staff before we go to a vote. Staff?
Amendment 1 is to delete Report B and add legislation number 0041-23 as new business A. Delete item H, legislation 0040-23. Amendment 2 is a consent agenda, which includes 0036-23, 0037-23, and 0039-23. Madam Speaker.
Ms. Cook for reading our second reading of our agenda. Honorable colleagues of the Naa'bik'iyati committee, will go straight to a vote. Go back to the drawing board. If you are on via Zoom, feel free to text the Chief of Staff or Jalissa here within the chambers. Thank you, staff. We do have 18 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting. And we did adopt our agenda down to number 4, review and adopt the journals. March 9th, 2023. The staff did send out the March 9th, 2023 journal on March 15th, 2023 at 3:54 p.m. and on March 22nd, 2023 at 12:12 p.m. Can you get a motion? Motion by Honorable Toth, second by Honorable Johnson. Are there any questions or concerns to the journal? Second call. Third call. Go to the drawing board for a vote to accept the journal on March 9th, 2023. Thank you, staff. We do have a vote of 17 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting. We do have an adopted journal. Down to number 5, receiving reports. A update report by the Office of the President and Vice President on the streamlining and implementation of the Navajo Nation American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds. Update report provided by the staff of the Office of the President and Vice President. Honorable Simpson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of the Naa'bik'iyati Committee. Madam Speaker, I'd like to make a motion using Rule 20 in suspension of floor rules, and we'd like to go straight to Report A, under new business. We'd like to go to A under new business. I'd like to make that motion, Madam Speaker.
All right, there's a motion on the floor to suspend floor rules to go to new business A. I believe that's legislation 0041-23. Second by Honorable So. Any concerns or questions on the suspension of floor rules? Second call. Third call, go to the drawing board. If you are attending via Zoom, feel free to text in your vote to Chief of Staff or to our staff here at Jalissa. Yeah, thank you, staff. We do have 16 in favor, 2 opposed, and chair not voting to suspend floor rules. Colleagues, with that, we go to new business A, legislation 0041-23. We do have the sponsor joining us via Zoom. Staff, could we read the legislation to the record?
Legislation number 0041-23, an action relating to the Resource and Development and Naa'bik'iyati Committees, affirming the Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation among the Navajo Nation, U.S. Department of Energy, and other federal agencies, appointing 25th Navajo Nation Council members to the Navajo Nation and federal agencies collaborative team for economic revitalization and energy transition. This legislation was posted to the 5-day comment period on March 16, 2023. The 5-day comment period ended on March 21st, 2023. There was no comment supporting this resolution. There was no comments opposing this resolution. However, there was one comment and recommendation for this resolution. This resolution went before the Resource and Development Committee on March 22nd, 2023. There was one amendment. The amendment was at page 6, line 13, after number 1, insert the name Brenda Jesus. 2, at page 6, line 14, after the number 2, insert the name Casey Allen Johnson. 3, renumber and re-letter succeeding paragraphs, sections, and exhibits as necessary and appropriate. The Office of the Legislative Services and the Office of Legislative Counsel are authorized to make technical edits to this legislation and its exhibits to implement the Navajo Nation Council Standing Committee's intent. This amendment supersedes inconsistent language in any other amendments, which language shall be conformed to this amendment. Therefore, the legislation was then referred to the Naa'bik'iyati Committee. Naa'bik'iyati Committee is the final committee, and per Navajo Nation Standing Rules of Order, Rule 9, the legislation has been read into the record by electronic voice recording. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, staff, for reading that legislation to the record. Do we have a motion? Motion by Honorable Simpson, second by Honorable Arvizo. Honorable Crotty, if you're on the line, you have the floor for presenting legislation 0041-23.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Curley, Naa'bik'iyati Committee members, our relatives on the line. For legislation 0041-23, I do just want to point out on page 4 of 6, the crux of what we're trying to do here. In response to the Navajo Nation's need for direct support from federal agencies, the Department of Energy and the Department of Interior, in consultation with the Navajo Nation Division of Natural Resources, spearheaded the development of the Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation among the Navajo Nation, U.S. Department of Energy, and other federal agencies, as attached as Exhibit B. As stated in the MOU, it is the mutual intention of the parties to collaborate to build capacity, provided needed technical assistance, and identify funding needs and opportunities for the Navajo Nation for the direct benefit of their people, and enhance coordination and collaboration among these entities and the federal government to maximize the benefit of both public and private investments in the development of an equitable energy future. With that in mind, Chair Curley, I'd like to yield my time to our agents. With the U.S. Department of Energy, we have Waheela John, and we have Dr. I apologize, from the Department of Interior on the line. If Shadija, Waheela, if you could continue with the presentation for my colleagues, thank you.
Ms. John, via Zoom. If you're online, you can unmute or press *6. Yes, Miss John, we can hear you on the floor.
Madam Chair, Curley, and also honorable delegates of the Naa'bik'iyati Committee. My name is Wahela Johns. I'm the Director of the Office of Indian Energy at Department of Energy, and I'm joined by also Tommy Jones, who is the main point of contact for the MOU that we recently signed with President Nez back in December of 2022. We do have a PowerPoint presentation if that's helpful. And then we also have recent notes from the first meeting, meeting that was in Winter Rock a couple of weeks ago, and that we can also share with you all what the outcomes of that process was. Also I'm originally from Navajo Nation, Northern Arizona, the community of Forest Lake, and it's really an honor to be here, and thank you for providing us the time. And I'm going to hand it actually over to Tommy to give an overview of the MOU. Tommy?
Hello, everyone. My name is Tommy Jones from Jones, Oklahoma. Thank you for having us here. It's an honor to speak to your committee, and this is an exciting time, and so thank you for being here. I am from Jones, Oklahoma. Like I said, my father's side Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma, and my mother's side Naa'bik'iyati Native Village from Alaska. We'll just get right into this. And so this memorandum of understanding was signed in December of 2022 with the previous president. And so we have been working with the current administration on promoting the different parts of this MOU through the different entities at Navajo Nation. And so these were the party's intention that Delegate Crotty announced earlier. But generally, there's nothing about this MOU that is dictating what you can or can't do. It's really providing a structure to the federal government so that we can make sure that you're getting the services and opportunities that are available. So there's nothing on your end that says anything about what you can or can't do, or anything like that. The idea is we saw that there was a tremendous need in several communities, and we wanted to put together something that could help the communities. And so this, with the historic being made through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, Inflation Reduction Act, and several other opportunities, including through the Office of Indian Energy, we wanted to make sure that the opportunities that were available out there were accessible. And so this includes developing strategic energy plans, designating staff, really getting the who, what, when, and where. And how we get to that point began with a meeting that we had very recently. The presentation here is really the MOU, and so we will make sure that everyone has a copy of the MOU, and that's just what we're seeing here on the presentation. And let me just get to what we did recently. And so this was held March 9th and 10th. And the idea here was to have an initial meeting to begin the process of developing an implementation plan. And so the implementation plan are really all of those things of the who, what, when, where, what is most important to the different folks at Navajo about project development, students, water rights, all of the different things that really go into energy development and job creation. And so we had a lot of different folks come to the meeting, including delegates, the Office of President, Vice President, Navajo Nation staff, businesses, and universities. And then we had White House staff and federal offices, including multiple federal agencies. And we are continuing to get more interest in other agencies and more interest in these agencies just to continue building on this initiative. There's a lot of outreach that these offices have to do now, and this is a great way for them to really work with the community to make sure that the funding opportunities that are available are accessible. And so what these 2 days, it was a facilitated discussion with facilitators that covered the introduction and sectors to the U.S. economy, organizational history, current environment, practical vision, and next steps and participants. Really what this meeting went over is historical actions related to energy development on Navajo Nation and current concerns, and really setting up an idea of how to think about next steps on who to involve in the meetings and things like that. And so let me back up a little bit here. This implementation plan that we're going to create together is meant to be a guiding document that directs resources to specific needs and supports the energy vision of the Navajo Nation. And so the first meeting we had a few weeks ago was beginning this process. And we do have a document that details everything that went on during that in-person meeting. And so folks can have that as well. And it is through the facilitators. So the folks who did miss out on that meeting, we can help catch you up to speed on that as well. And so this implementation plan in the MOU was due 180 days from the signatory date, which was 12/1. And so we're looking at a date of May 30th to have this implementation plan completed. And we know that there's several levels of review and things like that that need to happen. And so that's why we're looking at setting up more meetings here in the close future. And so a facilitated session between the executive and legislative branches is currently proposed for April 14th. And we believe that would probably be another in-person facilitated session just to get everyone on the same page. I know there's new executive orders and things like that. And so this really helps to make sure that everyone's talking about the same thing. And then a larger facilitated session to pinpoint initiatives is expected the first week of May. And so maybe May 1st through 4th, we're still waiting on confirming location and things like that. And then after that, the implementation plan, we want to get finalized and really hit the ground running. And one of the things that we feel that would really help with this process, making sure that there's resources at Navajo Nation that can have the time to apply for these opportunities and things like that, is our office wants to help support fund a employee at the Navajo Nation that can also be a point of contact that you would select, so that there's just more resources available to really capitalize on all of these funding opportunities. And we can go into questions, but generally, this is the intent of this is to group together the federal opportunities and make sure that you're not missing out on them. And that's been exciting. The first meeting went very well. There was a lot of good feedback from folks, and we're excited to continue. And if Director Johns has any more comments, please go ahead. Otherwise, we can take questions.
Thank you, Tommy. And I also just wanted to add that what this PowerPoint doesn't say, but maybe it's in the MOU, is that there's identified over $300 billion aimed at trying to help support communities throughout the United States that are going through recent coal closures and coal plant closures throughout the country. And so it's an interagency effort that President Biden started when the first 2 months in office, to identify the funding resources and identify the priority communities. And the Four Corners region, that includes Navajo, Hopi, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, that was one priority area. And so this sort of interagency collaboration is happening in wanting to support communities that have been affected by economic loss or revenues due to closure of coal plants and coal mines. There's also a lot of funding earmarked for reusing and repurposing those areas for economic revitalization projects and whatnot. So that's what sparked this opportunity for us as federal agencies, is that needing to support tribes that are feeling the economic loss and wanting to be a resource. So I'll turn it back over to Delegate Crotty.
Honorable Crotty?
Apologize, colleagues. I appreciate the report. So, Chair Curley, what we're asking for in this legislation is to create the task force. We do want to make sure that the committee understands that there is a timeline that we need to submit Navajo Nation recommendations by, if you look on page 5 of 6, line 25, this team will have to develop the implementation plan by May 31st, 2023. Individuals and colleagues who are interested in being on the task force, we would need a commitment to be available all day February or April 14th for a discussion with the facilitators and the federal programs. In addition, we would need a commitment to be available all day Monday, May 1st through Thursday, May 4th, as we finalize some of the planning to be prepared for that May 31st deadline. So there is a commitment, and I appreciate colleagues who are interested in being in this collaborative team as we move forward. Chair Curley, I'll yield back my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Crotty. First in queue, we have Honorable Otoso.
Yeah, thank you for the legislation, and we know that on the legislation there's 5 slots for names to appoint members of the task force. 2 of them which has been filled by the Resources and Development Committee, and the other 3 indicating that it's a Naa'bik'iyati committee member. So I assume that was gonna try to make a even approach where we have a committee member from each of the standing committees, and that way we could have that dialogue and had some names ready, but it sounds like the names are already identified, and I'm not gonna step in the way of that, and I think another delegate may have that has that amendment there, so that's just what I'm thinking. Whether it's a for this task force, and just to try to bring a regional, equitable thought and peace of mind to this task force, and so that was just my thought. But talking with Madam Chair Crotty, indicate sounds like someone may have an amendment. So I'm gonna send that back off on my amendment and not step in the way of whatever was planned for this. So maybe with that for now. Yeah, I hope there's equitable throughout the region for this task force. So that's just my thought, because we have 5 slots, 3 slots remaining from Nabi, and we already have the Fort Defiance representative and the Western representative from Resources and Development Committee. So therefore, I'm just going to go ahead and back off on that, and think someone already has set up a direction for this task force, and so I'm just going to back off on this. So thank you very much.
Yeah, Honorable So. Next, we have Chair Shondine Parrish. You have the floor.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now?
Chair Parrish, we can hear you. You have the floor.
Okay. I apologize. Thank you. Thank you, Chair Curley, and good morning to my colleagues in the 25th Navajo Nation Council. Thank you for the time. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question, and then I'll ask the question and then make some comments after that. So my question is, Delegate So pointed out that there are 5 positions, but to my understanding that, I need clarification on how many members can be on the task force in total. And because it was to my understanding that more members can participate in the collaborative effort. And I just wanted to make comments about this initiative and congratulate all of our past leaders who have led the way in this endeavor. This is it's providing more chairs at the table, and it's also providing a table here on Navajo. So thank you for leading that way, and so that we can participate in 2023. And I really advocate, and I want to voice the necessity to have the members affected by previous natural resource economic development endeavors, including communities like Kayenta and Chilchimbito and other communities, and the detrimental impact that it has had on our economy. I mean, our school system has changed. The student attendance has fluctuated. Our community is different because of those impacts of the changes in the economy. So I just wanted to offer those questions right now, or that one question, I guess, to the sponsor, and then I'd like to be added back into RTS. Thank you.
Honorable Crotty, sponsor of the legislation, will yield the floor back to you to answer some of those questions. Honorable Crotty.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I appreciate the questions from Chair So and Chair Parrish. In terms of the legislation and how committee members want to be appointed, there is an amendment that is being populated with interested committee members as stated in the legislation, and I would need Legislative Council to clarify on page 6 of 6, line 9 and 10. That would be if there's an additional 3 members from Naa'bik'iyati who wish to be on the economic revitalization and energy transition and will commit to the April 18th meeting and the May 1st through the 4th meeting, we can, I would ask Legislative Council, and I'm sorry, it's the April 14th. Thank you for that correction. Legislative Council, what would that amendment look like? And Chair Curley, if you want to, we can open up the floor, and committee members themselves can identify if they want to be on the task force, if they could commit to that April 14th meeting and May 1st through the 4th. That would be vital for the collaborative team. Thank you, Chair Crowley.
Thank you, Honorable Crotty. There is a need for a clarification from legal counsel on page 6 of 6, line 9 to 11. Legal counsel, I believe they are attending via Zoom.
Good morning. This is Dana Bob Ross, Chief Legislative Counsel. So I defer to the sponsors and the federal group and OPVP, but it is Office of Legislative Counsel's understanding that the Naa'bik'iyati committee could appoint actually as many members as it wants. So if there are more than 3 Na'bi members that need to be appointed, then you can do that. You could do 5, you could do 8, you could do 10. Just the importance of being available on the April 14th date and in the week of May 1st. So it's an easy amendment. The 5 members was originally determined to keep the group workable. It will be, with 5 members, it will be a large group already, but as I said earlier, Na'bi can appoint as many members as it wants. There are no requirements of limiting it to the 5 total or the 3 from Na'bi. Just let Office of Legislative Counsel know who you want to appoint, and we will make that amendment, get that amendment ready for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barbroff. So we have that clarification. I'll go back towards the queue. We have Vice Chair Simonson online. You have the floor.
Yate, Speaker, Speaker Curley, as well as my honorable colleagues on the 25th Navajo Nation Council. Yate Kidishni Dole, and I had a chance, real briefly, to attend the tail end of this work group's first session, and it was, it appears to me that they've done a great deal of work within the 2 days that they were there, and it was very well facilitated. So I just want to commend the group that initiated the process and felt that it was important to do this work. And this is just really great timing as well. So my thought is that for, the Biden administration for sure has 2 years left. Whether they will continue after the 2 years is, typically I'd like to think that a president automatic sort of has 8 years, but of course that was disproven with Donald Trump. But I'd like to believe that they, a president has about 8 years. But, with our political climate, things change all the time. So we really only have 2 years under Biden administration. And under this administration, you've seen such a large number of Native American as well as people of color serving really under his administration in appointed positions. So I think we really, as a nation, we really need to take the opportunity and really make the most use out of the structure that he has now and the people that he has appointed now. And so we really need to do some solid work at this time. And so as a, Tzifti region, I'm going to say that through the past 20 years, I feel like we've really been, at the forefront and very progressive about what our communities should look like. And really, our communities came before this council 20 years ago to let you know that cold was not sustainable, that there's going to be an end coming soon. But those warnings were not heeded, and so here we are, and so again, our communities are now looking at, they've spent several years asking for support of the nation to help them transition post-coal economy, and now we're looking at large-scale watershed projects, which were initiated several years back as well. And so I feel like, there's communities out there who are really actively are forward thinking and perhaps a little ahead of their time. We're working at the speed of council and at the speed of our Navajo Nation government. And so I think this is just really a good process that is happening. And I'm going to be a real advocate for our communities, our grassroots folks, because there are people, in those communities who have spent 20 plus years actively pursuing such sustainable economies. And I would like those folks sitting at the table, because we really need communities to start planning for themselves. And we need to, just be there as a support, whether it be Navajo Nation Council or Department of Energy. And we really, as much as possible, need the communities to guide these conversations. And we need to help, and we should support them with, technical resources. If we know of funding availability, we should also offer those supports. And so and Shamasana, Ms. Crotty, thank you. I appreciate your legislation here. And I would like to, I'm very interested in being a part of your work group, and I will commit to the May 14 event, not May 14, April 14, as well as the first week of May. And I will be, and thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Simonson. We have Chair Shondine Parrish via Zoom. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Parrish, or not Chair Parrish, Chair Curley. I apologize. I'm trying to, I'm calling in instead of doing the internet, so I apologize, colleagues. Thank you to Vice Chair Simonson and the colleagues who have offered their comments today. I would like to offer an amendment to legislation 00141123. The amendment was sent to Office of Legislative Services earlier to distribute to the members of the 25th Navajo Nation Council. But I don't see it in my inbox. Could we get assistance with that? Okay, here's the amendment.
Thank you, Chair Parrish. I will have staff read that amendment into the record. Staff.
Madam Speaker, delegates, amendment to legislation 0141-23, 1, page 6, line 15, for Naa'bik'iyati committee, insert Honorable Shondine Parrish. 2, page 6, line 16, Before Naa'bik'iyati Committee, insert Honorable Amber Kanazba-Crotty. 3, page 6, line 17. Before Naa'bik'iyati Committee, insert Honorable Carl Russell Slater. 4, renumber or re-letter succeeding paragraphs, sections, and exhibits as necessary and appropriate. The Office of Legislative Services and the Office of Legislative Counsel and the Office of Management and Budget, with notice to the sponsors of the legislation, are hereby authorized to make technical edits to this legislation and its exhibit as necessary and appropriate to correct grammatical and/or scriber errors and to correct numerical errors, so long as such edits implement the Navajo Nation's Council's intent in approving this legislation. This amendment shall supersede inconsistent language contained in any other amendment, which language shall be conformed to the intent or language of this amendment. And, this is amendment to legislation number 0041-23.
Thank you, staff. So we do have a motion for amendment. Do we have a second? Second call for amendment. Honorable Crotty?
Oh, yeah, thank you. My point of order is there was a discussion to add additional Naa'bik'iyati members. Was the amendment, as I pull it up, can we provide that language? Can we modify that amendment before moving forward? There are members who have identified they want to be on the task force, which includes Vice Chair Simonson and Delegate Arvizo. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification, Honorable Crotty. But we do have a motion on the floor for the amendment. Can we get a second? Second by Crotty, Honorable Crotty. Questions or concerns to the amendment? Honorable Arvizo?
Oh, yes. Madam Speaker, thank you. 25th Council, baseball sa anit, linigi aro na aro, Madam Speaker. Di out aro lad, ni tato na het ni so aita, visit the baka on Jondoles. Aro maybe send out notices to the 25th Navajo Nation Council as to who's going to be on these. Di ko de bahan now, yad oyo ba tislaneka. Ako aron le, President ba office state klo hot edo le, so ya ban sis case. Aro lad, dojo ben hikhan da baseball sa anni klinigi. Ako di di hol yahegi ya kunne adult eltani zintajno en jondo le. Ahot a ban sis case. Shiland I quite nice or Tanigido Dyson Agi. Madam Speaker.
Yeah, Honorable Arvizo. Next in queue, we have Honorable Simpson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of the Naa'bik'iyati Committee, guests that are in gallery here, and also people on Zooming in. Good afternoon. I guess it's still morning. Madam Speaker, I'd like to request the motion party to maybe modify their motion, and it goes back to being fair. I think it was stated by Honorable Delegate Autoso Equal Nini to make sure we have every agency represented. And I believe that this modification will be requesting to where we still stick with the 5 members, but from 3 from the Naa'bik'iyati, I'd like to ask the motion party if the modification can be done. Now, from law and order, that she, already 2 have been selected from RDC, so there should be a representative from law and order, and I recommend Mr. Arvizo, Mr. Delegate Stephen Arvizo, be from law and order. Health and Education, I believe that should be Health Education Human Service Committee will be Curtis Yanito. since from Utah. Then Cash, she did just did Amber Crowley from Budget and Finance. She should be on this task force from Budget and Finance. Nishike modification, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, Honorable Simpson, there's a request for modification to the amendment. We'll go back to the motioning party. Chair Parrish.
Speaker Curley, and thank you to Delegate Danny Simpson for offering that amendment. I guess could I ask if all of the nominated members also be included into the amendment in addition to those that have already been added to the amendment? I guess my question would be to legal counsel. Also, yeah, that's my first question.
Thank you, Chair Parrish. There's a need for clarification on a question. We'll refer that question over to legal counsel. Ms. Bobroff?
The short answer is yes, we can revise the amendment to add additional members. So if I'm understanding it right now, that would be 5 members from Naa'bi in total, and I can address that. It would actually be easiest for me to do the revised amendment if I know when you come up with all the members you want to appoint. Right now, the way I have the amendment, you would be appointing, aside from the RDC members, from Naa'bi, you would be appointing Chair Parrish, Honorable Karate, Honorable Slater, Honorable Arbizo, and Honorable Juanito. If that's correct and you're ready to stop adding members, I will send out the revised amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Bobroff, for that clarification. I'll go back to the motioning party. Chair Parrish?
Speaker Curley, I would, okay. I would like to add Delegate Jermaine Simonson, Delegate Helena Naa'bik'iyati, and I believe Delegate Stephen Arvizo was also recommended. But I am taking into consideration Delegate Danny Simpson's suggestion from LOC. I see a conflict in the in his discussion point where he said that members of Northern Agency should be represented. So I guess, does Delegate Simpson, would he also like to represent Eastern Agency on the task force? That would be my recommendation for the last person to be added to the amendment.
Thank you, Chair Parrish. So just for the record, Honorable Simpson did request for a modification. Are you accepting or declining that modification? And are you going forward with your own modification? Chair Parrish?
Thank you. I will decline the recommendation and then create a new modification for the motion.
Chair Parrish, could you read your modification so we can identify, so we can have our legal counsel input those names. Chair Parrish?
I'd like to add Delegate Jermaine Simonson, Delegate Helena Naa'bik'iyati, Delegate Seth Damon, and Delegate Stephen Arvizo. I believe we need a representative from Eastern Agency. Or Stephen Arvizo is the delegate from Eastern Agency. Okay, that's my modification to the motion.
Just give us a few minutes, colleagues, while we update on the board here so we can see that clearly. All right, colleagues of the Naa'bik'iyati Committee, we do have the updated listing on your screen. Colleagues, do we have a second for the new listing? There's second by Honorable Simpson. Question and comments to the amendment, colleagues? We have Honorable Helena Naa'bik'iyati.
I waive my time because Shandine already included my name. Okay, thank you.
Honorable Daniels, via Zoom, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, thank you very much for those to the motioning party to the amendment during the 23rd council, 24th council, maybe 24th council, there was a group that was formed. Ayoshkash group that should Cost working group. I'm just wondering if that organization, that group is still functioning. It's still there. It's under nation for cost working group. I don't know what looking to the amendment Mazay honorable arbitro three I think that I agree with that I don't know over this case of that particular legislation. I think over about this case I know that the very economic revitalization of the energy transition. The very to come to Haiti on the very Peabody coal is no longer there, and also the NGX is no longer there. So Ecuador the very to come to Haiti on the very Shanding, the very photovoltaic AD and Cantavega, the very Kienta, north of Kienta, 5 miles. There's a solar farm. There's another one in Red Mesa. So that I just have to be stake on clean energy. No. So AD I think Cordona Vega being on the Law and Order Committee, Cordona Vega, other committees show what I think I did at our committee level, Cordona Vega, I don't know. The equities, the Navy from Law and Order Committee. Right now, at the Naa'bik'iyati. But the gosh, so I'm going to make a motion to table this to refer this to the next Naa'bik'iyati committee meeting, so we can talk about this at the committee level. In the area of economic, I know that in the Western Agency, they tourism, so they Highway 163, Highway 160, Highway 98, 89, during the pandemic, it went away. The any kind of slowed down. Yeah, I mean, no. So what I tell the economics, I don't know very much. I know that Honorable Chair Pierce, ever since Peabody shut down, NGS shut down, our Navajo people, at the house, along with that, they went off the Navajo Nation reservation, and they're now in these metropolitan areas. So what I tell others, when Peabody was still operating, so our Navajo people, they're off the reservation working out there. Denver, Salt Lake, Phoenix, Tucson areas, Las Vegas, so so I want to make that motion to refer this to the next Naa'bik'iyati committee meeting. I schedule a date at the next Naa'bik'iyati committee so we can talk about this at the committee level. So on order committee, I did Naa'bik'iyati so I want to make that motion, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Shiyaj, Honorable Daniels, there is a motion to table legislation 0041, and according to Rule 18, a tabling motion can supersede any of the motions on the floor. So is there a second to the tabling motion, colleagues? Second call for a second. second by Honorable Toth. According to Rule 18, tabling motion, a tabling motion is not subject to debate. Colleagues, we'll go straight to a vote for the tabling motion. Go to the drawing board, and if you are attending via text, you can text in your vote to our staff, Jalissa, or with the Chief of Staff.
Honorable Casey Allen Johnson votes red. Honorable Dr. Andy Nez, how do you vote? Honorable Dr. Andy Nez.
Thank you, staff. We do have a vote of 5 in favor, 12 opposed, and chair not voting. The table in motion fails. We're going back to amendment number 1. We do have a motion by Chair Shondine Parrish and a second by Honorable Crotty. Next in queue, we have Chair Jesus.
Yat Ebene, thank you, Madam Speaker Curley, and also I'd like to greet my colleagues of the 25th Navajo Nation Council, good morning. Yate bene and buenos dias. And also to individuals on the call here this afternoon and my honorable colleagues that are also on the call this morning or this afternoon. As Chair of Resources and Development Committee, we probably all know now on the 25th Navajo Nation Council that Resources and Development Committee has oversight over Division of Natural Resources as well as Minerals Department under Division of Natural Resources. At the inception, when the committee members were appointed to these particular committees, the Resources and Development Committee had a strategic session. And we know that this was one of at the forefront of some of the tasks that Resources and Development Committee needed to do in regards to development of a energy office and energy policy in regards. And I am thankful now that Inhinatani President Nygren had initiated the executive order, and we wanted to also be parallel with the discussion with President Nygren, and which was addressed to Office of the President and Vice President in one of our Resources and Development Committee meetings. So the recommendation by the committee members was to, when this legislation was dropped, is to have 2 RDC committee members on there. And this discussion came up at our regular RDC meeting yesterday, where myself as chair and vice chair, Honorable Johnson, were recommended as an appointment to this particular task force. Now, when we're talking about an energy policy, Honorable Karate did mention that we are pressed against a timeline in regards to appointing a full task force. Now, the issues here that need to be addressed is of energy development. Energy covers, which basically is energy conversion, the distribution, its uses and reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. You know, the components are including like legislations, investment incentives for the Navajo Nation. We're looking at the energy conservation, taxation issues and policy techniques that we would like to utilize as a blueprint and use that as a roadmap going forward as Navajo Nation. And there's so many developments that are developmental venture firms that are coming to Navajo Nation that want to develop. And, you know, the resources are extracted or the land has been disturbed, but how do we get back to where we have our constituents at the forefront of this whole planning? So right now, I was pretty much in agreement with the 5-member task force. So we've got 2 from Resources and Development Committee and 1 from Budget and Finance Committee who's going to be dealing with the taxation or investment aspect through a fund management plan for this energy policy, and also 1 individual from Law and Order Committee in terms of the laws that need to be in place, and hopefully that we stay within the parameters of what a Navajo Nation is allotted in terms of developing an energy policy. And 1 member from the HESI in regards to the environmental component to our constituents. So right now, that was, you know, the understanding, and I really am wanting to request for reconsideration if we could just appoint 1 individual from every subcommittee from Budget and Finance, HESI, and Law and Order. When we get too many individuals at this table, the main task here is to get an energy policy together. And we cannot have personal interests or other group interests at the table. We need to be rational about this whole appointment. Not ani danothini. Ashonda kodo ben hinge kade hajo hat ninigi Kodoha Jo'o, one member from every, from the other three committees is what I strongly request. Because right now, there's dates that have already been outlined, so Chair, Vice Chair Honorable Johnson and myself have already cleared our calendar for these dates because as it was brought to Resources and Development Committee. So again, the faster we get this task force together, the faster we're able to attain the objectives of getting this task assigned, working in collaboration with Department of Interior and also with Office of the President and Vice President. And eventually, the one representative from the subcommittee or the committees of the 25th Council will make a report back to their colleagues on their respective committees. So it's what's up on this case, though, and that's how I've had envisioned this. But again, I'm just one person out of 25 members or 24 members of the 25th Council, but I just wanted to, just re-emphasize that, Shanat Ani Danothinigi, the reconsideration can be granted. I appreciate it. Madam Speaker.
Chair Jesus, to the motioning party, Chair Parrish, there is a request on the floor. Return back the floor over to you. Chair Parrish?
Chair Curley and Chair Jesus, thank you for providing those comments. I am offering this amendment. I'm offering this amendment to insert names to represent the Naa'bik'iyati committee. The legislation wasn't originally written that way, so my amendment is just to offer the positions to represent the Naa'bik'iyati committee. That's my response. Thank you.
Next in queue, we have Honorable Chair Vince James. Chair James, you have the floor.
Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the time to address this legislation. I just wanted to get some clarification in regards to the legislation number that we are working with and that is before us. On our agenda, it indicates 0041-23. But then on the amendment screen, and then with the email that we received, it has 0141-23. So Speaker, if you can make that clarification in regards to this legislation, that would be very helpful. So the confusion is not there regarding legislation number. Number two is Khalid Committee Task Force, which in the list for what kind of stipend is considered in this task force. But not the legislation that's the whole Ado Nana Eco Khalid case la Jokot she says the chair CC RDC AJ but Liado AJ Beshmas Anadana has time or a without a speaker without visit nada so Jokonana Toko Oko Hajo Hala Bene so without a Bahasti or Lito Ahido Ban Saha Kisi Given Nachako Nishi on need ending Hidet without the out as John points as the whole Naa'bik'iyati committee. It'll be the as equally. She thought in John on some Kodon Ban case and speaker. But is the neighbor has state on the speaker. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair Vince James, then we'll have the staff put out that correction for the amendment number and also to the legislation number. So we should be getting that shortly.